the mountain that is hurricane season's activity. But thankfully, for now, all is quiet. From sunny Central Florida, I'm WESH 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, on WJCL 22, Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
All right, so Jeremy, for now, things are nice and quiet out in the tropical Atlantic. Let's take a look at the satellite imagery and see what's doing across Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, the southeastern United States. Interestingly enough, there's like an actual cold front in the ballpark, though it's not exactly doing anything for like temperatures to be cold.
Yeah, I mean, that front is over us right now. We've had a wind shift. I was just outside. It is still humid. So, unless someone showed you the map or you knew the wind swung around a little bit, you probably wouldn't really know the front went
Yeah.
through here. But we might see some highs in the 80s a little bit later this week. So, that's a win.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So, in addition to just kind of the quiet scene right now, we are watching at least for a little while longer, a hurricane. Take a look at the location. You don't see storms here very often. This is Hurricane Ernesto as of the 5 a.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Still a tropical warm chord low system, though it's now getting pulled into the northern latitudes. It's moving to the northeast at 36 miles an hour. So, it's rushing. Winds are at 75 miles an hour, so it's a minimal hurricane, and it will continue to become a non-tropical, transitioning to a cold core low, and eventually just be a gale type storm heading over to like Europe, among other locations.
Yeah, and that is Ernesto was the third hurricane so far this season. We've had one major hurricane. We were talking last week if this one would be a major hurricane. It kind of got just to the doorstep, right?
Yeah, it was real close. It was a category 2 for a while there.
Yeah, and it did. Sometimes it's tough to make a direct landfall on Bermuda. That's such a tiny island, but the eye did pass over Bermuda, so it made a landfall there, stayed away from the U.S. Something that we talk about so often, whether it's a day or two ahead of time. I know both of us do hurricane specials. We really, ours was about the power of water.
Yeah.
And even though we were 1,000 miles away from Ernesto here along the southeast coast, again, we saw two people drown due to rip
Yeah.
currents. So
Yeah.
even if you're so far away from these systems, you can still be impacted. I know that threat went all the way down your coastline as well.
Oh my gosh, the rip currents were big here. The rough surf is just tapering off, as a matter of fact. And look, I mean, the thing is out past the Canadian Maritimes. It's knocking on the doorstep of the Arctic Circle, for goodness sake. But it does show how a direct landfall and a direct impact is one thing. The indirect impacts are another. At least we also, it wasn't just, the rough surf and the rip currents, though, right? Like we had, it was a hint of fall. Like a crumb, not even an appetizer, a crumb, a teaser of fall. And I would imagine you probably had the same idea up by you.
Yeah, I mean, it did give us that drier air on that
Yeah.
west side of it a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to say that it's fall when the dew points are still in the 70s, but maybe you saw
We got in the
enough that
60s. Hey,
that helped.
we got in the 60s. That wasn't too bad.
I think I mean maybe for part of the day we were in the upper
Yeah.
60s, but it was still well into the 90s here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess at this point in summer, it's small victories whenever you can get them.
It's an emotional victory, just like for us. Today marks the last day of our average high being 92.2 degrees. Tomorrow, our average high drops to 92.1. And it's an emotional victory, but it's a victory nonetheless. Meanwhile, here we are looking at the hurricane season by the numbers. And, month by month, we are very much in that upward trajectory. Today being August 20th, we're like right there. We're climbing the mountain. So it's a good thing, a nice thing that for right now we are quiet, Jeremy, but the peak of hurricane season is still just under a month away.
Yeah, I think that's what around September the 10th is the
September the 10th.
actual
Yep.
date of the peak season. And remember back in 2017, right on that peak date, we had Irma impacting
Right.
us. So generally the activity ramps up. It's looking like so far, though, we may end August a little bit quieter now that Ernesto's out of there. So the Atlantic Basin, fairly quiet, but some of the models are starting to hint that as we get into September, may have a few things to watch.
That's correct. So let's do this. Let's look at the computer models and just kind of get an idea of where we are in terms of things, because we know that we've got Ernesto out there. But let's get an idea and see what else. Okay, so here we are. This is the raw GFS model. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to go wider. Instead of just showing kind of the near southeast United States look, let's go broader, right? So this is a look at the entire basin, okay? And let's just review the models together. And what we're looking at is mean sea level pressure normalized anomaly, which is a fancy way of saying it's going to over accentuate lows and it's going to over accentuate highs. Lows being the blues and the greens, high pressure being the oranges and the yellows. High pressure obviously is a blocking mechanism for tropical systems. So interestingly enough, just on first glimpse, we've got these little pieces of energy around Florida kind of late this week into the weekend. And to that point, down by me, and I would imagine by you, we've kind of we're entering into this little rainier pattern because this old front is basically dying over top of us.
Yeah, and there's a couple little impulses or maybe lows that work along that. So far, they're not indicating they'll drop into the Gulf or maybe
Right.
enough into the southwestern Atlantic to spin something up. And that certainly is good news because that'd be something close to home.
Yep.
Now, farther out, as you're showing right there, we'll have to watch. Models continue to try to hint at something moving off the west coast of Africa. And you would think if it's going to do so, heading into September would definitely be prime time.
Well, and so this is like the raw GFS, right? So what's interesting about this is, first off, this kind of caught my eye this morning. Look at the northeastern United States there. This is like the 27th of August. It's almost got like this little piece of energy off the coast of like Long Island and the Jersey Shore there. It doesn't spend much time out, but like there's a couple little lows there that tropical, not tropical, probably not tropical, but an interesting indicator. And then look at how right at the end of August, that's September, or excuse me, that's August 31st into September 1st, the GFS showing a decent little storm system sitting just off the southeastern United States coastline there.
Yeah, and that's had that a couple model runs now because last night zero Z it showed something like that. The 6Z shows it, so we'll have to
There was
watch
zero
that.
Z.
I believe zero Z had something somewhat
It's in the
now.
Gulf. It's in the Gulf there. That's the zero Z. Notice it kind of in the crossing the Yucatan Peninsula and getting into the Gulf on the zero Z.
Okay, it was
The
also
six
much
Z.
faster on the
Yes.
zero Z.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
Um, and then if you, I know you'll bring it up here in a second, but the European model, at least zero Z last night, as you got to the 240 run, that's as far out as it goes. It was showing something in that main development region, sort of trying to get going. You
yep.
can see it right there.
Yep. So that's the zero Z. The 6Z doesn't go out that far, so it kind of, it kind of is what it is. But let's look at the ensembles a little bit here, Jeremy, because the ensembles I think are always a good way of getting an idea of what could be to come, right?
Yes.
All right, so running the ensembles, and what we're looking at here, just so that everybody's familiar, think of this as 30 different flavors of the GFS. Now we can look at them in their individual panels. And you can look and say, oh, ensemble number 11, ensemble number 25. The better way to do it, frankly, is just plop them all on top of each other and kind of review. And notice how that's the 28th of August. There's starting to be some indicators from the Gulf of Mexico to like the Caribbean islands, but down the way here around September 3rd, September 4th, September 5th, you're seeing a bunch of ensemble members, individual members showing areas of low pressure trying to develop in the open waters of the Atlantic back over to the Gulf of Mexico. So, kind of looking down the line, this is the GFS ensemble. Let's switch over to the European ensemble and go that far out and watch how. Real quick, there's some Gulf members, there's some Atlantic members, but all indications are that while we are nice and quiet for now, that doesn't mean there's going to be like 80 hurricanes or 80 tropical storms. It just means that there's different members showing things. But it definitely shows things waking up at the very, very end of August or into the beginning of September.
What was the sort of that date range of some of those ensemble members that were going into the Gulf? Was that still in August or was that more into September?
So this is the European. So let's just back it up, right? So that's the 29th of August there,
Okay.
right? So that's the 29th. I mean, if we were to, there's a couple indicators right in here, and that is the 25th. A couple of ensemble members showing something around Florida
Okay.
around the 25th.
There were some
But
obvious things popping up there in the Eastern Gulf a little bit farther down. That's probably right towards the end of the run.
yeah, and then once you get into the 29th, 30th, right here, that's September 2nd. That's
Okay.
September 3rd.
All right.
Yeah, so
Well,
we're
we'll see how
getting
it plays out because if you remember our forecast for March the 1st, we highlighted Northeastern Gulf, Southwest Atlantic. I believe it was September 3rd to
yeah,
10th, I think.
yeah, yes,
Only, and I definitely remember that because everyone at my work, a lot of people are paying close attention to that because one of our anchors is getting married, and a number of people are supposed to be attending that. So I'm hopeful that there are no tropical systems around that
right.
time frame.
Well, and like one of our meteorologists, who's over that's Cam. One of our meteorologists is getting married this weekend, and so it was another one of those just like, oh, do not do anything tropical in this weekend's
Right.
time frame. So yeah, for sure. I can agree with that. Let's just hope that everything stays nice and quiet
But
as it has.
that is a sign though. Models are starting to at least hint at something, and we
Yeah.
know that's kind of a time frame that we had highlighted to watch.
Right, right. 100%. Kevin's asking, do hurricane models take the data of weather that has been adjusted? So computer models take all satellite data. It takes radar, surface observations, and believe it or not, like even jetliners feed data into computer models, which I think is just kind of an interesting little tidbit. Kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, well, and then speaking of, I mean, aircraft, we have our hurricane hunters. When you actually have
Yeah,
something that's formed, that go in there, put the drop zones down,
yeah,
as you were discussing last week, and get the measurement of water temperatures,
right.
all kinds of data, and then that does get that real time data gets ingested in. Also on the
And
ground, over land, you have the balloon releases. They do some
yeah.
extra one of those from the National Weather Service.
Hmm.
It all feeds in and hopefully in the end produces a better product.
The more data we can get into computer models, certainly the better off they are. So we've got Ernesto, but that said, let's look at some of the stats, shall we, Jeremy, and just kind of see where we're
Yeah,
at?
yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, it's kind of a weird, not weird season so far, but maybe not what everyone was expecting. We've had 5 named storms, which is now very close to average. Last year we were at 8, but again, the difference this year is we've had uh, Beryl, which sort of threw everything.
Right.
Some of these numbers a little bit higher,
Yep.
reaching Category 5.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of named storm days, we've tracked systems for 24 and a half days. 30-year average is 15, and last year we'd had 21. But this is the number that I think is so interesting. Okay, the ACE score. Even though we're pretty average in terms of the numbers, the ACE score is significantly higher, 55.1. And that ACE stands for accumulated cyclonic energy. So the stronger the storm, the longer they've lived, these numbers go up. So 55.1 for this year. 30-year average through today is 18.9. And last year, we were sitting at 16.8. So Beryl and its strength really did blow things up. And, I think that this is exactly the type of scenario that we had expected for the season. And that's where we actually kind of put our hurricane forecast numbers together, Jeremy.
Yeah, so we went 16 to 20, which is definitely lower than the National Hurricane Center. Their forecast came out in May, and then the initial forecast from Colorado State was 23 named storms. They jumped it to 25 in an update, and then the most recent update, they're back to 23. But definitely for our numbers here, leaning above average. You can see we also had a higher percentage of hurricanes and a better chance of some major hurricanes this year. And so far, we're at 3 hurricanes and 1 major hurricane.
Yep.
We'll have the rest of this month, which maybe we don't really add much on to it, but then September. September definitely has that potential, maybe a little window there in the beginning of the month. And then once we get in the back half of September,
Yeah.
that's some of the most active parts of the pattern coming back. So
Right.
we'll see what happens. And then sort of if we could escape September, early October, season's not over, but then you're starting to decline fairly quickly.
Well, and we also get into that newer version of our long range pattern where we kind of have
Yep.
to sit back and relax and be as much observers as anybody else to that point.
Yeah, and you don't with the method we use, you don't want to busy, say like mid-October through November. Don't want that to be busy.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. All right. So that said, questions, comments, concerns, everybody, because for now, at least we are aware of exactly where we stand tropically now. We have an idea that the very end of August into September, things do start to open up. Kind of fits our pattern. The season has thus far been what we had expected, which is, a little above average in terms of the numbers, but that higher percentage of stronger systems, we'll say, with Beryl, certainly. What was it? What did we have? Five named storms, three of which were hurricanes. So that's already a
Yep.
higher average than normal, which
And
is,
we've had three U.S. landfalls. I mean, Debbie made landfall twice. Once as a
right.
hurricane, once as a tropical storm, and then Beryl made landfall along the Texas coast. So we've had three landfalls. So certainly, a lot of the U.S., at least in terms of the coastal areas,
Yeah.
have seen some impacts, or at least been brushed by some.
Well, and you bring that up, and it's like, wasn't Idalia the only storm last year to make landfall in the continental United States?
There was a tropical storm, I
Was
believe, that
there?
was in South Texas.
Oh, the only hurricane, I guess. This all
Yeah,
starts
yeah.
blurring together. This all starts blurring together.
It was yeah, it was in our because I remember last year we put that little yellow spot down in the south part of Texas near
Yeah,
Brownsville, and that's right where that tropical storm moved.
got it. Okay, all right. Yeah, so season at least for now, nothing, no big concerns, but we'll have to, in a couple of weeks we'll have more to watch. At the very least, though, for Florida, our pattern is getting a little wetter later this week because of that frontal boundary, and I also think it's kind of interesting that there's, probably helped by Ernesto pulling some of that, direction, northern directional air. But like, it's August and we're already seeing fronts kind of dipping a little further south. Kind of interesting, if nothing else.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a little drier, or at least a break from rain
Yeah.
behind this front that's coming through right now. It doesn't last long this time of year. I say September is a full summer, is
Yeah.
summer here in Savannah. I know it is
Yep.
down by you. You start to get more cold fronts, what, November?
Yeah. We usually our first taste of the upper 60s comes usually early September, and then early October is when we usually get our first taste of the mid 60s. But I'd say more often than not, I mean, I've done just about every Halloween of my entire life in Central Florida from growing up to now, right? And I'd say more often than not, it is hot and disgusting out. It
Right,
just is. There's usually a decent front around it, but it just is what it is. So,
right.
yeah.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Let's see any other questions here. Joseph says, I'm seeing so much hype on YouTube about East Coast of Florida. It's nuts. I mean, I don't know what there's to hype about.
What?
There's nothing
Yeah, I
out
don't
there.
know. Again, we say weather enthusiasts, we love them, but sometimes what gets posted on social media takes
Yeah.
off, which we can't control. So I don't
Right.
know what that's a reference to, but obviously you were showing those ensembles, longer range
Yeah.
down the road, maybe early September, something we'll have to
Right.
watch. But at this point, it's nothing to, I would think, panic about.
Yeah, yeah. Taylor's asking about hotspots and Halloween. The problem is again, our methodology kind of resets around early October, so we go into more observation mode than anything. We can use tools like the Bering Sea Rule and
Yep.
things like that, but in terms of like hotspots, it's kind of we have to sit back and watch just like everybody else is the
Yeah,
problem.
we're just at that point. We're really diving into what's happening uh, in the short term, because then it will play a role in the
Yeah,
longer term for our forecast that following March.
yeah, yeah. Um, it's crazy though to think, right? Like college football is right around the corner. Yesterday was Orlando's last sunset at 8 p.m. Tonight, sunsets at 7:59. Like we're starting to see this fall transition happening. Today's the last day of our climatological peak of temperatures. It's just kind of, we're working into fall. Working
Yeah,
into
our
fall.
average high has started to go down. It's now at 91, so
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. All right.
heading in that direction.
I'll take listen, it's an emotional victory. Any other questions? It's nice and quiet and let's not poke the sleeping bear, I guess, at this point, right?
Yeah, and we'll see everyone next Tuesday.
That sounds good to me. All right. Anything else, Jeremy, that you could think of?
No.
I'm going to go build some more graphics then. From sunny Central Florida, I'm West 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
All right. Be good, guys. Take care.
All right, see ya.